We're back on another episode of Breaking Bread, and I'm here with author Mark Seal, who wrote Leave the Gun, Take the Cannoli. Couldn't be a more perfect title for this podcast. And as a huge fan of The Godfather, I'm thrilled to have him here. Mark, welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
So, I'm sure there's probably almost all of our listeners have seen The Godfather. I would like to think so. That's actually one of my requirements when I ask a girl out. I'm like, have you seen The Godfather? And if she says no, it's like an automatic, X, done. But long story short, how do you get to write about The Godfather? That's such an amazing and legendary film. You obviously had some big shoes to fill.
Yes, exactly. Well, I wrote a story about the making of the movie for Vanity Fair magazine, where I have been a contributing editor for many years in 2009. And I was able to interview the cast and crew. And from that point on, I became obsessed with the backstory of the movie, which I found almost as compelling as a movie itself. So that's when my fascination began, and I continued after that. A few years after that is when I started working on the book, which required a lot more interviews. And there you have it. It was just published this week.
God bless. And it was published on which day, and where is it available so all the viewers know?
Yes, it was published yesterday, Tuesday, October 19th, and it's available in bookstores and also online on Amazon and all of your friendly booksellers online.
Nice. And hardcover, paperback, both?
Paperback, not yet. Hardcover, yes, and ebook and also audiobook.
Excellent. And it had to be a real trip interviewing members of the cast and crew. Did you have any favorite interviews or talks or stories throughout the process of your research?
They were all fantastic. I couldn't single out one that I liked better than the others. Every one that I interviewed it seemed like was better than the last, which when you have a film like The Godfather, that's kind of the road you follow. I mean, they're just filled with these amazing larger than life characters.
Now, for the audience's sake, I'm sure that they're dying to know who you had the chance to talk to. Do you mind telling the audience?
Not at all. So for the article, I was able to interview Robert Evans in his home. He was the head of production at Paramount. He greenlit the movie, and he was instrumental in working on the movie. He said it was both a blessing and a curse for him, because it completely took over his life and consumed his life, and it became everything to him. And I was able to interview also many of the actors in the film, James Caan for one, and Talia Shire, and of course Gianni Russo, and so. In addition to that, I was able to access the archives of Mario Puzo, the author of the Godfather novel, and also the co-writer of the film. And his archives, his papers, are housed at Dartmouth University, and those were really amazing to look through and see his actual writing and learn how he created the family Corleone out of thin air. And so all of the people were just so great to interview and so exciting and compelling.
Do you have to have some sort of special permissions to access the archives, just out of curiosity?
Well, I was able to access it long distance through people that were not on site because of the pandemic, but they were able to help me and to access papers and get them to me so I could see them.
Now, this is a question that I'm sure most Godfather fans, I guess that you could say, is up for debate. It's probably a highly contested question. Do you prefer the book, or do you prefer the movie?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think, the movie is just amazing to watch because it's 3 hours, it's timeless, You know, you feel like you're watching it for the first time every time you watch it. And the book is too. I mean, the book was just the most unlikely thing, because Mario Puzo had written 2 books before that, and he said he was writing for art, and neither one of those books did very well in sales. They were critically well reviewed, but they didn't make a lot of money. So he said he was going to do his next book for money. And so he wanted to create a bestseller, and that's what he did. And so the book is amazing too. I mean, you can't really say which you prefer, I don't think, or at least I can't, because each one of them is just a huge masterpiece, work of art, you know. I mean, you look at the book and the book is you know, that some of the things Francis Coppola took the book when he was writing the script with Mario Puzo for The Godfather. He took the book and he put it in 3, he tore it apart. He ripped out the pages and he put them in a 3-ring binder in what he called a prompt book. And he wrote in the margins of the book the scenes that he wanted to use. And you can see this, he he published this prompt book. And you can see that he took things out of the book and took them straight to screen. And so the movie is an extension of sorts of the book.
Now, one thing that I've always thought about when The Godfather comes to like mind is obviously people who have Italian and ancestry are fascinated by it. You do not have any Italian ancestry. So can you walk me through like how, you know, you got to be immersed in it, I guess, or what it was like to be immersed in it?
Well, you know, I'm a journalist of many years, and so I was able to just immerse myself in this world just like I do every story that I do. And although I'm not an Italian American myself, unfortunately, I do know a lot of Italian Americans, and I was able to interview a lot of people who know that world. Of course, Mario Puzo being the consummate Italian American, reading his works. He had written a book entitled The Godfather Confessions, and he talks about the making of the novel and the movie. And in one part, I believe it was either that book or another book or another one of his writings, he was quite a prolific writer. He said, I wrote this down. He said, I had every desire to go wrong, but I never had the chance. This is when early in life, he said, because the Italian family structure was too formidable. I mean, he had his mother, he said, first uttered some of the phrases that are in The Godfather, both novel and movie. Some of the classic phrases like, you know, a man who doesn't spend time with his family, those lines, you know, revenge is a dish that tastes best cold. He said his mother first said these words, and his mother was quite a tough woman, and inspired him in many ways.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting that you say that. I did get a chance to read up on him, like, you know, for a long time of Mario Puzo and his work. I'm a big fan of his too. And I've read The Fortunate Pilgrim. That's one of his first books, and I have to say, like, the mother in the book was exactly how you described. Exactly,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like, you know, it's like he was writing about his mom, which I'm sure that he was.
Right, exactly. That's what's believed to be, that he was writing. I think Lucia Santa, I think, is her name in the book, and his mother's name was Maria, and she apparently he used her as a model and fictionalized the book, obviously, but she was the basis for the character, I believe.
So when you're writing about The Godfather, did you feel like you had big shoes to fill? Did you feel like you were opening yourself up to criticism by writing about such an iconic film? What would you say, I guess, the
Yeah, sure.
experience was like?
Well, of course, I felt like I had to, you know, well, I wanted to do the best job I could, as I always try to do the best job I could. I can when I'm researching or writing anything. And of course, when you write about an iconic film that so many people have seen and so many people love, you feel a responsibility to really do your best. And I hope that I have with this book.
And I just want to let the audience know I have started reading it and it's impressed me a lot. Mark is a very talented author and his knowledge of The Godfather is unparalleled. I do have to say that, and that's honest.
Well, thank you so much for saying that.
Absolutely. There's one thing that always comes to my mind. I think I said that like 5 times already, but a bunch of things come to my mind when I think about The Godfather. One in specific, though, I think about what it was based off of. Did you happen to do any,
Yeah.
sort of digging up in like that department? Because I know that they
Yeah.
mentioned Frank Sinatra, Johnny Fontaine, all this crazy
Of
stuff.
course. Well, what happened is that Mario Puzo wanted, in the book that you mentioned, The Fortunate Pilgrim, he had some mafia aspect to it, but not a lot, But one of the publishers that he went to, who had turned down his next book, had said, if only you could do a book that had more of that mafia stuff in it. And he that rang a bell to him. And so at the time, in the mid to late 60s, a lot was going on with the mob being exposed to the world. There was first the Kefauver hearings, which was Senate hearings on organized crime. And those were held in cities across America. And you had these men, these organized crime figures, being one of them actually was on television. And at first they only showed his hands, not his whole body and his face, Frank Costello. And so as everybody was watching this, and so Mario Puzo was watching it too, and he ordered the hearings, and he also ordered a book called the Honored Society, which was about the Sicilian mafia and other aspects of organized crime that he began researching. As he was a dogged researcher, he would read. He was an insatiable reader. And so he would read books on the mob, and pretty soon his office was just filled with all this source material. And from that, he created the family, the Corleone family. And that is also based, in fact, because Corleone is a town in Sicily, and that's where a lot of these men called their home. And so he was able to draw on fact to create fiction that it was so compelling, you almost believe it's fact. You almost believe that there really is a Don Vito Corleone and Michael Corleone and Santino Corleone and Fredo and Sonny, of course. So he created these men on paper, and they just kind of like were bigger than life. And that was a huge accomplishment, just to create this family, but basing it on fact, but then actually creating more than what was really happening. It was just a towering achievement.
Yeah, I could imagine, and it's a towering achievement for you, to get the chance to have published work. Your work is literally set in history next to the name of The Godfather and the brand of The Godfather. So that's a dream come true.
Yeah, I'm quite proud of that, because of course that it's an iconic movie. And I'm just, I'm proud to have the opportunity to write about it, even in any way, so that's great. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Do you have any plans for sequels, like to write about The Godfather Part 2 and Part 3?
Not at this point, I'd love to, but not at this point. I don't have any plans. Writing about Part 1 was quite a lot, because there's so much research material that, things that have been written, interviews, archives. It's just a mountain of documentation. And of course, then you have the source material of the original Mario Puzo novel and the movie itself. And so, I'm just happy to have written about number one at this point.
Do you have any opinion about there was like it was a rumor or like a fabricated like I guess show paper, but it was this big flyer went around Little Italy not that long ago, and it said filming for The Godfather Part 4. People actually thought that it was real.
No, I haven't heard that. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it was it had to be maybe I'm gonna say 6 or 7 years ago.
Huh.
But what's your opinion? Like, because they have been going back to a lot of different kinds of films. What would your opinion be if they decided to rehash that story?
Gosh, I don't know. It just depends who would do it and the quality and what they could do with it. You never say never. Who knows what will happen? I just think we're lucky to have the three that we do have, and who knows what will happen next.
Did you have any cast member in specific that really struck you with one of their stories or something that they had to say that other people might not know?
Well, no, I loved talking with James Caan. He is quite, I mean, he just was so classic in the role of Sonny. And when you see him on screen, as who you can't imagine anyone else in that role. I love talking with him. Of course, Gianni Russo as Carlo is just classic. And Al Pacino as Michael is incredible. And Talia Shire and Diane Keaton in their roles. Everybody is just so great in their roles. You can't imagine anyone else inhabiting those characters. And they all, I've just enjoyed every aspect of researching and writing this book. It was just a pleasure to be able to follow your interest and really write something like this. It was just an honor and a privilege.
Hypothetically speaking, let's just say that you get word that Al Pacino read your book or Francis Ford Coppola read your book. How would you feel about that?
I'd feel great. I hope they will. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd feel great to know that. And we'll see. I hope that everyone reads it and enjoys it as much as
Yeah.
I enjoyed writing it.
Did you throughout writing it, because I know that you mentioned you were writing it during the pandemic, you said.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Since then, did you get any chance to like I guess see places where The Godfather was filmed?
I have in the past.
Mhm.
In New York, you can still go to some of the real life places. Louis Italian American in the Bronx, but it's now it's no longer a restaurant. Best and Company, of course, is no longer there where the Christmas scene was filmed. You can go. I mean, the hospitals are obviously still there. The bridges, where they did the classic scene is of course still there. I don't think you could do a U-turn as they did, in the movie. But yeah, you can go to these places. I've gone to as many as I could, and I hope to go to many more in the future because you can see where where the movie was filmed. Radio City Music Hall, of course, which was dressed up to look like Christmas, even though I believe it was far after that. But yeah, and the compound, of course, on Staten Island, you can't really go see that. And also, I don't think with the compound on Staten Island, it was a large home, but the walls and the gate and the high walls around it were built out of styrofoam by the set decorators. So so in that case, they took something that was really great and authentic, and they really improved upon it even more.
There's definitely something that I want to share with you, which I think that you'd find really interesting. I went to high school at St. Francis Prep. That's the largest Catholic high school in the country. It's in Fresh Meadows, Queens.
Uh-huh.
And my freshman year Italian teacher had a whole entire class segment on the Godfather.
Wow.
It was the most amazing thing. He was the first one to point out to like me, like, or get me into it, I guess, because I was young. You don't pick up too many things like how I would pick up now. But
Right.
I like thought it was funny because he would literally make us watch the epic from a start to finish, and it was one of the most interesting and fascinating classes that I've ever been in, even as a freshman. And it made me think of you right away. I'm getting those same kind of vibes, like you're passing on that sort of knowledge.
That's great. Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah. Lastly, I guess, is there anything that you'd want the audience at Growing Up Italian, Breaking Bread to them know about you or your book?
No, I think the main thing is that I think the magic of both the book and the movie is Mario Puzo and later Francis Coppola's insistence and belief in the magic of the movie is that these men were not just, on the screen, they weren't just members of organized crime. They were family men, first and foremost. And that's what made the book and the movie so compelling, is that you kind of know, you learn about these men's weddings and their sons and daughters and grandfathers. They have grandfathers and uncles and aunts. And so watching this movie, beginning at the wedding, you really know that you're immersed in an Italian-American family. And that's what makes the book and the movie so great and so compelling, is that it's a family story. Even though it's about an organized crime family, it's an Italian-American family. And that's the heart of everything. And that's what made it such a great success that continues to this day.
Are there a lot of Italian Americans in Colorado?
Sure, there are. Yeah, there's a lot. There are many Italian Americans in Colorado, and I grew up in Texas, where there's even more.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's pretty cool. And if you ever get the chance to come here pretty soon, I'd be happy to take you around and show you where the real Godfathers hang out.
That'd be great. I really appreciate that. I would love to
Of
do
course.
that.
Yeah, and I will definitely be there for it, and I'd love to chat more with you about the Godfather.
Terrific. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you again, Mark, for coming on. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, Anthony. Really appreciate it. Thank you.